flag God stood beside me. I swore an oath to my countrymen and kin. Side by side we sang our anthem oh so proudly. And this is where a soldier's tale begins. We left for foreign shores in the name of freedom, comrades in arms for the liberty of man. Shoulder to shoulder, but still could not redeem them in God's name, but no one could understand.
Welcome, everyone. This is the 87th episode of the Late Night Veteran Show. I'm your host for tonight, Reginald Argue. Darren's unable to be with us tonight. We wish him the best and hopes they were able to straighten everything out. But we still have an amazing show right now. What I want to do is I want to hand it over to Tim right now. Tim, can you turn around and give us a brief synopsis over the areas that we covered since you first came on with Mike Rood?
Hi, so my name is Tim Riley. I'm a Canadian veteran. He's speaking out along with other people like Dave Bona about mefloquine, an anti-malaria drug that's also known as Lariam, that many countries gave out to their troops back in the day. So we gave some history in the last few episodes about the drug and some of the issues around it. And tonight, Dave's going to talk more about the symptoms and the difference between mefloquine and a PTSD diagnosis. Canada is trying to have mefloquine treated the same as PTSD, but it's definitely not the same. And I'll pass it over to Dave to start the conversation.
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, difference between mefloquine and PTSD. The biggest way you can tell the difference between the two, because both have definite triggers that start the symptoms rolling. The biggest difference we use to differentiate is the heart rate. With PTSD-related anxiety, your heart rate will spike. Whereas the mefloquine stuff is just a slow, gradual increase as you stress your vestibular system out. So what would an example of that be? For example, myself, I have a lot of operational deployments into Africa and the smell of dead people. So if I ever go near a hospital that has a palliative care ward, while I'm wearing a heart rate monitor, my heart rate will shoot up to 230. And what's happening there is your system's getting an adrenaline dump in preparation for you, because you're going into the fight or flight mode. So that's the PTSD side of things. Whereas with the mefloquine side of things, it's a slow, steady increase. So example, I'm bradycardic, which means I have a low resting heart rate. So my resting heart rate's usually around 48. So if I'm out and about and something twigs the mefloquine side of things, like for example, if I'm in a busy place and I lose the reference to the horizon, which we'll touch in, I'll explain this a little bit more in detail later. But what happens then is my vestibular side of things, which is the mefloquine damage, gets twigged, and my heart rate will start to slowly climb the longer I'm exposed to that trigger. So that's one of the big ways we tell the difference between PTSD and mefloquine symptoms.
And with PTSD, the question I have to ask, I know we covered this briefly, but I think it's an extremely important part for people to remember. We talked about the assisted suicide and how they're using the mental health is now being used as one of the excuses to help with that assisted suicide. So how big has that in regards to mefloquine and PTSD? How big is that right now with that assisted suicide?
They're not producing the statistics on that in Canada. So it's going to be quite significant, because what we know with mefloquine guys is when when you go present at the a medical facility with mefloquine symptoms that mimic PTSD, you get a lot of people doctors that will just treat you symptomatically. So what's that mean? So you show up at the hospital, your anxiety's amped up, you have significant anger management issues, that automatically they're going to hit you with Ativan and some sort of a antidepressant, and to dump the symptoms. So, but what happens with that is that's your initial exposure. But after 3 to 6 months, a year, there's this slow escalation of medication use. And what we're finding is with mefloquine vets is doctors will try different medications with you without stepping you off the previous one, and they'll max out the dosages, over time, over, a month to 3 month period, they'll max you out on each different medication. Eventually, what happens with a lot of mefloquine vets is they're getting no relief from the symptoms. They still have the severe anger. They're like walking zombies, and they basically just quitting. That's where we're getting a lot of guys electing for assisted suicide here in Canada as a result of that. Like you're doing everything the doctors are saying, but your symptoms aren't going away. So
now these are people that swore allegiance to protect our nation, our flag, and our people. So they stepped up when so many other peoples didn't. And that's why I feel as a veteran, it's the responsibility of the nation to respect us. And in regards to mefloquine, I know it goes over to the civilian side, because we have to remember from the early 90s till 2017, it was given to the military as primary. Now, how much was given to civilian, which is going to be possibly in the hundreds of thousands?
In Canada, that's just under 1 million travelers have been exposed to mefloquine / Lariam since the early 90s, since this drug was used. Civilians are injured at a lower rate, but they are still injured. But because with military guys, we're usually in deserts or jungles, body armor, carrying 28-pound machine guns, where we're really stressing ourselves out, we generally get injured and we're dehydrated. We're generally injured at a higher rate than our civilians. The civilians are. And with the civilians, a lot of them don't even realize that they're injured by mefloquine, because their symptoms usually start to present anywhere from a month to 3 months to 6 months after they return from their trip, because that's when the drug is leaving their system. Because how mefloquine works is it builds up in the fat tissues of your body and is slowly released into your bloodstream. And it takes a while for that to fully clear out of your system. And with civilians, because they're not as stressed, bodies aren't as stressed out as the military types, they get injured, but it's at a lower rate. But they do get injured just like the military guys while they're taking the drug and on the drug. It's just the larger percentage of them are injured in the post phase of the use, when it's coming out of their system.
We also have to remember, I know the last interview we did with you, you talked about waking up in the middle of the compound over in Somalia, and you're running, carrying your rifle. At the same time here in Canada, one has to question all of those. We're seeing increase on different attacks and stuff like acts of violence. What percentage, you have to question, is it caused by mefloquine, Lariam? That's one thing else we should, these are things that we need to sit down and discuss, not only for ourselves, but for you, Dave and Tim and other veterans that were exposed to this, to make sure that your life, whatever you have left in your life, is a life of, at least you're going to be in dignity. You're going to we're going to say, yes, we honor you. Thank you for your service. We're going to put some meaning behind that. Thank you for your service.
But the
And that's-
problem with that is Health Canada and the Canadian government in particular, for Canada anyway. So they basically are saying there's no long-term evidence of mefloquine poisoning our bodies and affecting our bodies, and basically put a moratorium on the medical community that they can't diagnose with the mefloquine toxicity. So even if the doctors wanted to, they'd be going against Health Canada. They'd be getting in trouble. And
But it's not just Health Canada, you guys. There's actually the DSM-5, the diagnostic criteria doctors use for diagnosing injuries, illnesses, and diseases. Um, it's currently locked up right now, and a large part of it is with the pharmaceutical interference with getting some of this stuff recognized, like the pharmaceutical injuries, mefloquine being one of them, because it's going to be a big multi-billion-dollar issue if they actually list mefloquine as the cause of the chronic quinine encephalopathy, which is the injury from it. So that's the root issue. Is it's actually locked up right now. There's no doctor can officially diagnose this because they can't reference anything to say this is an actual injury, attributable to something. To give you an example, I talked to hundreds of veterans from around the world, and in all that, for up until this year, there was only one person I've ever bumped into or come across that actually has a diagnosis for a brainstem injury from our healthcare system. And that was a young female medic, lived out in BC here. And the only reason why she got a diagnosis, and it wasn't even the proper diagnosis, it was just the global diagnosis of a brain stem injury. Yeah.
how about the that one airborne guy from Somalia? I don't know his name.
Jake,
That
my
guy.
fire team partner, he was, we had to tie him up, take his rifle away from him. He went batshit crazy. And we thought he was going to shoot the locals. Or originally, but then as he went even more psychotic, we thought he was going to shoot us. So we literally had to tie him up, take his rifle away from him. He was medically evacuated home. He was, and here's where the Canadian government's being really shifty about this. He got a medical release as a result of receiving an injury from mefloquine while deployed on it, and he's in receipt of a pension for it. I don't understand how they can say that no one's getting coverage for this. He was my fire team partner. He's got coverage for it. He's medically released,
Mhm.
And he quickly, his name again, if I could get that.
I haven't, sorry about that. I haven't talked to him. I really can't share his sorry about that. I might have overstepped with that. Sorry about that.
Well, that's no problem. I mean, what we're doing here is we're having a platform. This is extremely important with veterans to get these issues out and to talk about them, because that way maybe we can get other veterans to help start pressuring. And the more pressure we put on, eventually we're going to be able to talk. We're going to have that rally. We're going to have that basically sit down with the different officials and hopefully get to the bottom of this and provide some sort of dignity for the rest of your guys' life. That's the most important thing. And Tim?
Yeah, I just hope through it's in the courts right now. I'm one of the 3 people that were brought forward to federal court from a administrative point of view around mefloquine. Even about 8 others were brought forward in about 2022. They were stonewalled back then. A federal judge has reserved judgment on whether it's going to go forward or not with me and the other 2 guys. and Dave and the other 8 from before. He wants to go over all the evidence because the government wants to basically squash it for time constraints or restraints. So
The neat thing about them though squashing it is they even if they squash it, there'll just be another court action, because by them acknowledging and allowing this court action even to go forward as far as it has, is they have acknowledged that there's an issue here. And I forget the way the lawyers worded it, but they've opened the door. They can't close the door now that they've opened the door. So there'll just be another court action. Usually, because what's happening is they did not realize, they knew there was injuries happening, but they were going off of what the pharmaceuticals companies provided, and that was a 1 in 10,000 rate of injury. And it's absolutely ridiculous that that nowadays we know that the rate of injury is almost 1 to 1, 1 to 2. Like it's high. We've got a lot of people that have been exposed, and they don't even know they're injured. They think they just have severe PTSD that's not responding to treatment. In fact, our Veterans Affairs has created a new category for PTSD, and it's PTSD that does not respond to treatment.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Wow.
And you're not allowed to go for counseling or anything. You just got this stamp on your file, non-responsive to treatment. You get access to your full pension and all that. They just don't waste money treating these people anymore.
And there's going to be no basically providing any access to any medication or
Nope.
anything
Yeah,
else.
they will let the doctors medicate the crap out of you.
Wow.
Because what happens when you medicate someone that has a brainstem, just Google it. Just Google it. Brainstem injuries. Is pharmaceutical interventions called for? No, it's contraindicated for any pharmaceutical interventions with brainstem injuries. So what's happening is Veterans Affairs is allowing veterans to be slowly poisoned to death, because with a lot of these pharmaceuticals they're giving these guys, they're toxic, and they're actually causing more harm to the injury at the back of the brain. And it's also exacerbating the gastrointestinal issues. And like I said on the previous podcast, you know how I find guys that are dying? One of the ways is they go septic. And how they go septic is their digestive system rots out from the inside from all the pharmaceuticals, but not just the pharmaceuticals, because you're with the people with the loose stool, their digestive systems are over secreting. So it's cleaning all that mucus out of the digestive system that protects the cilia. As soon as that mucus is gone, that acid, the digestive fluid, which is an acid, starts eating all that cilia. And when that cilia is gone, it starts eating the actual structure of the intestine, stomach, and everything.
So this actually continues on long after the use of mefloquine has been done.
30, I'm still getting guys from my deployment that are dying this way. And they've suffered for 30 years in our healthcare system, barely holding on.
Wow.
This is beyond criminal now. We've passed the point of, hey, we've got a problem here, and we should look the other way. We're into the area where it's now people they're knowingly and willfully killing people just to hide the fact that, oops, we screwed up. We poisoned thousands of our soldiers. We stamped their foreheads with PTSD. They don't respond to treatment. Oh, well, we made a mistake. Them and their families are going to pay. I'll tell you,
Wow.
This weekend, I had the privilege of helping another mefloquine family. It was absolutely amazing. This guy was degged to go to Iraq. And the problem we ran into is his deployment. He didn't make it onto the deployment actually, but he was dagged to go. He received the mefloquine pre-treatment. His
Preloading.
life ended. His wife knew him before. She goes, I don't know what happened. He was fine one day, and then all of a sudden I got this monster living in my house. Because part of the thing with mefloquine is you have significant mood management issues. Like you get these uncontrollable rages every once in a while. You can't calm down. You can't stop them. They just happen.
You,
You
you
know?
feel like something's clicking in your mind when your
No,
rage
no,
kicks in?
no. The rate they come in because what you
Wow.
like. There's no click, nothing. That you're in it when they
What
happen.
I feel like in a way that the pharmaceutical companies have put a dollar figure on the veterans, man, this is how much money they're going to make. They're not looking at us as human beings, they're looking at us as the bottom line, which is disgusting.
The
That's what I
pharmaceutical
feel.
companies are the only people who win in this situation because via political donations, they were able to gain access to very lucrative government contracts providing these drugs to the Canadian Armed Forces. They're now providing drugs to the provincial healthcare systems and having Veterans Affairs pay for these drugs.
Wow.
It's absolutely ridiculous. You get a veteran in Canada, and my brother's a veteran, and without even batting an eye, Veterans Affairs approved him for a $20,000 a month experimental PTSD drug. Yet they wouldn't buy him a pair of running shoes or pay for some physio. It's the ridiculousness of this is, yeah, we'll make this the healthy proven alternative unattainable, but hey, we'll just open the
Yeah.
bank for all this fucking pharmaceutical interventions that don't help.
Well, I've heard some veterans have been on, up to 28 pills a day. And, I've also at the same time, I've heard some veterans say that they've found ways to alleviate, which I'm hoping that Dave, you'll cover further upon that, through, diet and then through exercise and other forms of, to get the prescription down a little bit. But do you want to continue on with, how we can help alleviate some of the pain, some of the side effects?
Well, we gotta people have to understand how to mitigate this. People have to understand what is the damage. And that is the single most important piece of this puzzle that people are missing out on, because what did the mefloquine do? When it was in your system, it built up in your body to the point where it hit that, it's called the serum level, where it's actually starting to work, where it's killing the parasites in your liver and in your blood and all that. So when it hits the serum level, that's the actual level where it can cross the blood-brain barrier. Top backside of your brain, there's a little valley. And this is why we know this is where the damage is. This is where all your
brain scans.
Yeah,
True.
and Tim's brain scans actually reflect this. And this is where we know that it's right here in this little valley, because right underneath that little valley, there's a nerve cluster called the dorsal nucleus of the vagus. And this nerve cluster controls secretions within your digestive system. So the smooth muscle control. What you'll find is a lot of mefloquine vets, they don't, in their rectum, they don't have muscle tone in their rectum. It's basically, it's collapsed. Their digestive systems don't work, because what happens is, like, I'll give you an example, two examples. The first one is loose stool and acid reflux. Those are predominantly what mefloquine veterans suffer from. The third one is severe constipation, but that's at a little bit lower rate than those other two. So this over secretion. So when you eat some food, there's sensors in your mouth that send the signal to your brain, hey, start producing digestive fluid. Get ready. It's coming. Food's coming. So you chew, 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 eat. The muscles squeeze it down into your stomach. I used to choke on my food all the time. I'd have to spit food out in the middle of a restaurant, in the car, wherever. I would literally choke on food randomly. That's the smooth muscle control. A lot of people have that issue. Next thing that that signal does is says start producing digestive fluid. So that esophagus is lubricated, the stomach starts producing acid, large and small intestines start producing digestive fluid. So as that food goes down through the system, it passes these little tripwires that send the signal back up through the brainstem, through where that damage is. The problem is the signals going back are weaker than the signals going out. So when you have scar tissue and damage to that dorsal nucleus of the vagus, the signal to turn off that fluid, that acid, that's why we got acid reflux so bad, where guys have to sleep sitting upright in chairs and stuff. It's because of this. The signals can't get back through the scar tissue from the mefloquine. So you increase, if you eat foods that cause a lot of inflammation, your symptoms will increase and the signals have an even harder time of getting through. So that's the acid reflux. Now the loose stool, what's happening there is, again, the food leaves the stomach and it goes through the large and small intestines. As it passes certain points, there's little tripwires. These tripwires send signal, hey, the food's passed here, you can turn off the acid. Or you close the bile ducts, you can, or all these little gallbladders, all these little structures, you can turn the stuff off. That's not happening. What we now have is veterans that have large chunks of their intestines removed. We've got guys that have had their rectums removed, ostomy bags attached, all because of this over secretion. So,
Wow.
so to mitigate this injury, people have to understand what is happening. So how do you treat a brainstem? Not with pharmaceuticals. You manage the inflammation. You reduce the like foods that are very cause inflammation. So if you go to like for example, every single veteran that's that has this injury that does a ketogenic diet. Ketogenic diet, why do they work like for this? Because it basically, if you look at it, it's a very healthy diet. It's very, like, there's not a lot of inflammation causing.
A lot of protein.
Yeah, and there's a lot of protein. Protein is what your brain needs to function.
No processed food either.
Yeah, zero processed foods. So ketogenic diets work wonders for this. And it'll actually reduce the physical symptoms. So this is something guys can do without even going to see a doctor. Just do a keto diet. You know, a really true keto diet, not one of those Costco special keto diets, but a really true keto diet. So now we got we got the food going through the system, and it's all out of the system. What's actually happening when it's going through the system? It's not being digested because of it's basically your digestive system has a garden hose left turned on, and it's flushing all the food through your system too fast. So the residence time of the food in your digestive system is not long enough for your body to extract all the chemicals and nutrients your brain needs to function. So things like serotonin. Every mefloquine vet that has the loose stool suffers from severe depression because it's untreatable. It doesn't respond to conventional treatment, depression. It doesn't, it's because your body doesn't produce serotonin, because your body, the stuff's going through the system too fast. Testosterone, we suffer from a lot of sexual dysfunction. And that's because our body doesn't prioritize reproduction with what little resources it's getting from the food. And dopamine's another thing that's a low priority. Your body will whatever resources it gets from the food, it will prioritize your autonomic functions first. Serotonin, dopamine, testosterone, don't eat it. We just need to keep your lungs fucking working, your heart beating. That's it. We'll also suffer from our bodies scavenge resources. You'll find a lot of mefloquine vets, they have a high calorie diets. They do a lot of sugar, they do a lot of carbs. It's just because their bodies are always craving stuff, and that's why. So what do we do with this? Well, number one, we have to protect that mucus membrane. And the best way to do that is with super high strength probiotics. Like some guys go to the health food store, which like I do, and I get these super high strength 6 billion part fucking probiotics. Other guys.
Stay away from coffee too, right?
What's that?
Stay away from coffee too, right?
Yes. We'll get into the coffee in a minute, because that's that's absolutely deadly for us. But other guys, what they do is they use really healthy Greek yogurts, and they're able to get the probiotics from the Greek yogurts. Like, there's different ways of doing this. Doesn't matter how you get there. You have to incorporate probiotics somehow into your diet, and it's there to help with that mucous membrane and to protect that cilia. So you need it in there to help your body digest what you're eating. So that's part of that too. Now, you mentioned coffee. We will have to talk about why coffee is bad, actual PTSD. Why is actual PTSD bad? Because we got to talk about the next part that goes along with the body not getting the resources your brain needs to function. Tim mentioned his brain scan already, and if you'll notice on Tim's brain scan, it's all up and down the back of his brain stem. It's white. The white, that's the damage from the mefloquine. You'll notice what structures he passes over, like the temporal lobe, the medulla oblongata, and I forget there's another big structure, the midbrain. These structures are damaged. For the temporal lobe, what's happening is the temporal lobe has a sac that surrounds it, and it's located directly above that little valley on the backside of your brainstem. So when it burned holes through it also burned holes through the sac that surrounds the temporal lobe. So what happens? How does the temporal lobe get its energy, nutrients, and chemicals and stuff it needs to function? It's from the fluid that surrounds it. So with these holes, what's happening?
Are you there?
Yeah.
We lost you for a second there, Dave.
Oh, yeah. What's happening is that the temporal lobe, as soon as it runs out of that fuel, the chemicals and nutrients it needs to function, that's when a lot of people have these seizures. And what the seizures are is they manifest as extreme anger. You can't calm down. And we have to talk about what causes this to happen. We'll get into that in a minute. But it's not just the temporal lobe. It's also the midbrain and the medulla that's damaged. So the midbrain, the damage to the midbrain is something similar to what happens with the temporal lobe. And it causes that part of the brain not to be able to uptake the nutrients and stuff it needs to function. So what I'm leading to with this is how to manage these severe anger stuff. It's you have to get your fuel tank full. You have to get the brain operating with a full tank of fuel. And how do you do that? You get your guts digesting. Super high strength probiotics. Manage the acid reflux to where you can eat 3 meals a day. like you have to have loads and loads and loads of protein throughout the day, because you got to compensate for what your body's not being able to pull. So like for example, I eat eggs and bacon all the frickin' time. That's my go-to meal because it's so simple to and quick and easy to get at. I got 5 restaurants around Saskatoon that have all day breakfast. That the one place as soon as I walk in the door, the waitress knows to bring 3 eggs, bacon, and extra crispy hash browns. I don't even have to order. Yeah, but literally, like it's you like when you're out and about and you feel one of these coming on, and that anger's starting to creep in. You're starting to get a little bit road ragey. You're starting to get a little bit pokey with the wife. You're starting to get a little bit critical of everyone around you. It's like, hey, wait a minute, this isn't me. This is one of these seizures coming on. Okay, so I just cut out. Literally, I'll cut out, go into one of my little restaurants, have some fucking food, protein. It only takes about 45 minutes. Refill my tank, and then I can get back into my day with the family without fucking wasting a whole day just dealing with this. So those seizures, okay, what aggravates, what brings them on? It's basically it's a fuel issue. Your brain runs out of fuel. So you got to keep your tank full. How do you keep your tank full? The number one thing is, instead of having your foot fully down on the throttle, cut out the caffeine, because that's what caffeine does to your brain. It amps up your brain. It gets it going 90 miles an hour when you're in the 60 zone. Cut the caffeine out. Protein-rich meals, protein-rich snacks. You can get hard-boiled eggs at convenience stores now. Almonds, nuts, cashews, cheese. There's lots of things you can get that are quick and easy to eat. Yeah, I like, if you go into any of my vehicles, you'll find some trail mix. Well, it used to be trail mix. The wife, her allergies kicked up. I got other alternatives now I keep in my vehicles that are proteins and stuff that I can quickly access. And I stop at 7-Eleven all the time to grab hard-boiled eggs. It's just.
Do you also find that it's almost like you start sweating profusely, and
Yeah.
then also feel like you want to vomit, and it's like you want to pass out? I mean, is that sort of one of the side effects that you're feeling?
No, it's
Okay.
you will one of the symptoms we have with this is body temperature regulation issues. And so you will be warm in a cold environment. I literally, when it's minus 40 out, when my mefloquine stuff's all flared up, I can walk outside, shorts and a t-shirt at minus 40 and go fill my wood stove. Like
Wow.
it's crazy. Like I doesn't even faze me. But in the summer, it's the direct opposite. Like
Yeah.
I'll be out there at minus 40 and I'll be sweating when it's that cold. And in the summer, like, oh fuck, it's just I'm out in the sun and I'm shivering. Like I'm
I
standing
find
there.
too.
Yeah, I'm standing there in the sun. I'm just shivering. Body temperature regulation issues. We don't feel like we're passing out when that happens, or that other thing you mentioned. It's just literally, it's just like, what the hell's going on? Like my sheets, my bed sheets. We used to always have to throw out our bed sheets, about once every 2 to 3 months, just because you can't walk. I sweat so much you can't. Like we every time we buy a mattress, we always get the mattress protector for it, or else we have to throw out the mattress too, because you just can't get the smell of body odor out after a while, no matter
And
how.
what are some ways, activities, exercise to sort of help alleviate some of it? I know there's no cure, but just to help alleviate, make it help improve your day a little bit.
Tim,
What works for you?
just being active, like yeah, just being active, and that can be simple as walking. But part of my problem is motivation. I was going to ask you about if there's a higher percentage of people that get diabetes with mefloquine, because I had problems with my feet being really cold, especially in the summertime.
Yeah, that's actually part of the numbness and tingling. We got peripheral neuropathy, it's called, and that's a symptom of the mefloquine poisoning. For example, a good thing you mentioned that, because one thing mefloquine vets have got to watch out for is you don't go for carpal tunnel syndrome surgery. My neighbor, multiple deployments on mefloquine, has had 3, I believe it is, carpal tunnel syndrome surgeries with zero relief to his symptoms.
Wow.
One on each arm and then double on one or the other. Um, it's not the carpal tunnel syndromes we're suffering from. It's actual peripheral nervous neuropathy and it's as soon as you start addressing the damage on the brainstem, that will go away.
Well, what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to go to the professor's corner. I'm going to quickly throw on a video with the poem and come back. And then Tim and Dave, I'm going to give you guys about, we'll have about 10, 15 minutes just for you guys to finish it out, and then we'll end the show. But so far, wow, a lot of information. Both of you guys are heroes to me. But here, hopefully this works. It's the first time that I've worked StreamYard. So I'm going to go with the video right now. We'll be back in about 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Professor's Corner. The poem for tonight that I wrote is called The Walrus. The motion of the revolutionary thoughts once talked about by the walrus while living in a yellow submarine have been set in action. No longer wishing to live under an ocean of darkness, we see the past secrets are no more. As we join together with others under the Sergeant Pepper's band's flag, standing like brilliantly shining human instruments of change, our outfits cast out breathtaking colors from all sides of the rainbow of humanity, celebrating the beauty found in diversity that is rich in our heritage. As we gather in rhythm of our ancestors, we are urged to sing and dance in harmony with our traditions and those who came before us. Our words become our motto to live by, even in the darkest of days. No longer solitary wolves roaming alone, we are now part of a massive pack with meaning and strength. A pack that combines the wisdom of the owl, the keen vision of the eagle, and the strength of the beaver in construction, illuminates the path ahead. The love of our true brother and sisters surrounds us, creating a strong bond as we unite as one spirit. Seeing through the eyes of the crow, we revel in the echoing coming from the heartbeat of our ancestors as their songs inspire us. The melody reminds us of the value of liberty and justice that flow through our veins. Together as one, we celebrate our heritage through the harmony of the songs. Just as Sergeant Pepper and his lyrical companion, the poet, have caught a train to the other side of life, we continue to live our lives, striving to grow with every step, to seek new experiences. As the lyric of the songs reflects the ideas inspired by the walrus, these visions should never be forgotten. We are all one, living in harmony with nature to keep peace and justice for all. That's the poem that I wrote for tonight. Like I say to everyone, be the difference. Stand up. If you get knocked down, keep getting back up. Keep getting back up and keep moving forward. Be the positive change. Now, back to the show. Well, go ahead, Tim, if you can leave us with about a quick little bit at the end.
Yeah, this is a question I would have Dave expand on. So a little while ago, I was talking to Stephen Beardwood, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, but in the DSM-5, they can't diagnose us with PTSD because of criterion H, which
Yes.
I believe if there's not the medication that contributes towards it.
If you can add something that cause like a toxic exposure from either medication or like a chemical, like a pharmaceutical, or not a pharmaceutical, like a herbicide or something like that. If you have that type of exposure, you can't be diagnosed with PTSD.
And that's what the Canadian government definitely has done. And I know they're I know my letter for my mental health claims maxed out for mental health. And for mefloquine, because I talked about it in my explanations in my applications for my disabilities, I guess. And that's their way of trying to get around it. But they want to treat it the same as PTSD, but they don't want to recognize it.
Problem with the PTSD diagnosis and mefloquine is not the PTSD stuff, because the PTSD stuff, a lot of treatments, not the neuropsych treatments, but a lot of the physical treatments for PTSD, mefloquine guys respond to, like the Loretta neurofeedback, some of that brain stimulation, vagus nerve stimulations treatments that are available through PTSD actually are beneficial for mefloquine veterans. Hyperbaric chamber, I've heard, can be beneficial also. And these are all treatments that you can access with your PTSD diagnosis. Problem we run into, though, is PTSD diagnoses also lead to treatments, pharmaceutical treatments. And that's where we run into problems, because pharmaceutical treatments do not work for brainstem injuries, period. They don't. It's just a long, slow road slide to death. That's the only thing those pharmaceuticals are doing. They're chemically warehousing you, and they have to hit you with such high doses to mask your symptoms that they're creating additional disability. Let's just call it that. You know?
I
So
know for
that's
me
the
when
problem. That's the problem with the PTSD diagnosis.
Well, like I saw with the United States, whenever they advertise medication, then they're going, oh, the following are side effects. So you're just thinking, going, well, you solved that problem, but you developed about 10 other problems. That's what I'm hearing with this over medicating. You're like, it's going to cause 10 other problems, which they also have to medicate,
Yep.
which causes more money. You know,
And keep this at the back of your mind too. A lot of these medications, they are considered toxic. If you really look, they are considered toxic. So you are got basically picture you got a big scrape on the back of your hand, or you got an acid burn on the back of your hand, and then you're dripping acid onto an existing acid burn. That's what happens with the pharmaceuticals. That's why people that get on those high dose treatment regimes, they don't have very good outcomes. They don't. Eventually they get to the point where they just break down. They like mentally and physically, they break down. Like their digestive systems completely collapse. And from a neuropsych perspective, they just become non-functional. They're just done.
And even their immune system shuts down.
Yep. Well, it's not that their immune system shuts down. It's literally their digestive system shuts down. And your immune system doesn't work without the digestive system providing all the chemicals, nutrients it needs to provide to produce antibodies and all those little things your body needs for healing.
Go ahead, Tim.
So a couple of years ago, I started seeing a psychiatrist and put me on some meds. One was an antidepressant. It was Wellbutrin, was supposed to be the mildest form out there. And within a short time, I always felt my stomach was always being a knot. Like it was, I never had the problem before I started taking that medication. And then I believe it was Stephen was saying that there's no known antidepressant that does not react negatively to mefloquine.
Nothing. They're literally Google it. Just literally Google brain stem injury. That's all you have to do. And look at the recommended treatments. Exercise, occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy. Oh yeah, and with mefloquine, some people suffer aphasia. You lose the ability to talk. Like I for the longest time there, like I wouldn't say anything because I could think what I was thinking. I couldn't get my mouth to form the words because remember the dorsal nucleus of the vagus controls the muscles in the digestive system, and your mouth is part of the digestive system, chewing stuff up and masticating food. So
Wow.
yeah, because I remember you used to have the one sergeant major, like he'd fucking be in front of the commando and he'd just start talking and it wouldn't be making any sense. It'd be like he's making up words, It was like, what the fuck? And it was actually aphasia he was suffering from.
I had a couple sergeant majors like that in the military. One with a little short Scottish guy, about 5'3", and I thought he had a chip on his shoulder because of his size. But
we used
I got
to
a
call
feeling
that,
now that you're explaining it, there's more to it.
we used to call that, make a joke about that when I was in early years was, the aluminum pot syndrome. But actually what's most likely happening is
Yeah.
those soldiers were deployed on mefloquine's predecessor, which is chloroquine. There's chloroquine, primaquine, and Tim, what's those other ones that were
The bear, can't remember the one Mike mentioned, the first one they started off in World War II.
Adabrin. There's a bunch of stuff, but they're all quins, and the thing is,
synthetic. Yeah,
they all cause the same injury. The difference between chloroquine and mefloquine is here's chloroquine on the toxicity scale, and here's mefloquine on the toxicity scale. Chloroquine causes the same frickin' injury as mefloquine. So we've got veterans from like the Sinai, all those trips into the Congo, like into the Great Lakes region of Africa, like they're injured the same as us. The only difference is we know what's going on to us. We know we're poisoned, and they didn't. They thought that their symptoms was lingering effects from being in Africa or the Middle East and PTSD related stuff.
Yeah, I was 1988 over in Iran, so I was pre-mefloquine, but probably the other one that you're talking about.
Chloroquine. You would have been on chloroquine, and we have
explains a lot.
I have a good medic friend of mine that was on that deployment. He's an absolute mess. He's a diabetic now. He's lost both his legs. Like he doesn't respond to PTSD treatment, Like, how are you doing there? We should talk a little bit further.
Well,
I got some testing we can do on you to see where we can point you. No, seriously though.
Yeah.
Right? We can
Well, I
point
mean,
you
I take so much cannabis to sleep at night. It's unreal just to knock me out. It's like I take enough for an elephant, I feel like.
Do you want to know what the sleep issues with mefloquine are? It's anxiety. Because when you're like, mefloquine damages your vestibular system, so your balance system. Okay. If you're a mefloquine veteran and you've been poisoned or quinoline, but by a quinoline, we'll just say, because this chloroquine causes the same injury, just at a slightly lower rate, but it does cause the same injury, is you cannot sleep flat on your back. I will give any mefloquine veteran $20. I will e-transfer you $20 right now if you get your wife to send me a video of you sleeping flat on your back.
Yeah.
And it has to be you have to be fucking wearing a heart rate monitor or something so we can't catch you bullshitting, But seriously, our bodies are hardwired for millennia, if we have a brain injury, to roll ourselves on our sides, or else if we don't, we will die, because part of the thing with a brain injury, at some point, the body will cause itself to vomit. That's part of the brain injury complex. And if we're hardwired to roll on our sides, So if you have a brain injury, brain stem injury included, you can't sleep flat on your back. You will sleep on your side.
And I do. What was that other quinoline that starts with a P that you said, Dave? I didn't recognize
Primaquine?
that one. Yeah.
Primaquine? Yeah, that's another one that was around in the 70s and that.
Who would have got that?
Like the Canadian Forces personnel. It was part of the formulary there for the longest time.
What about the Vietnam veterans?
What's that?
What about the Vietnam veterans? What would they have gotten?
It would have primarily been on chloroquine. And actually, that's where mefloquine came from, was the urgent operational requirement from Vietnam, because the Americans were losing more soldiers to malaria than they were actually losing in combat. So they created this urgent operational requirement. Okay, here's $100 million. Go find us a better, safer fucking alternative to mefloquine or chloroquine. Wow. And they spent $100 million in the, in the late 60s, early 70s dollars, which is a huge amount of money. And they couldn't find anything that was better than chloroquine. But there was a guy that worked there on on a different program, goes, hey, there's this other drug that, has incidental anti-malarial properties. And they pulled that one up and threw that out and goes, hey, if we refine this, we might be able to get a good anti-malarial out of this. The problem is they didn't refine it further. They tried to develop it further, but you couldn't eliminate the negative side effects.
Wow.
So let's just face it. Militaries have to come to the terms with some people just have a genetic predisposition, and they can actually test for this, where their bodies cannot eliminate these drugs from their system and they cannot take it safely, because there is Malarone supposed to be the safe alternative. I'm getting young Afghan vets that were given Malarone that are failing the Romberg test, and they have all the mefloquine-like symptoms, and they took Malarone, and it's right there in black and white in their med file.
Well, so it's just effects.
Some people have a genetic predisposition where they can't take these drugs, period.
Wow. Well, this is great, Dave.
The Army knows this, but they're willing to accept these injuries. But the problem is they're not acknowledging these injuries. It's like, fuck. Yeah.
We could keep going all day long. I know we're running low on time. Tim, if you could give us about a minute or two, just final say, and then we'll have Dave say something, and then I'm going to turn it on. We'll lead it out with the music. Go ahead, Tim.
So just the fact that the government, Canadian government in particular, didn't screen any of us before Somalia. I had traumatic brain injury previously as a kid, which affects how mefloquine reacts within my brain, and I'm more prone to the side effects. So, and because they legalized it after we went to Somalia somehow, a lot of people weren't pre-screened at all. A lot of unethical stuff was done, and people weren't given. They weren't informed about a lot of things that they should know before they took the first dose. That's where I kind of want to leave it.
Okay, go ahead, Dave.
If you're wondering if you have an injury or not, if you experience the vivid dreams, you have a brain stem injury. Because what those vivid dreams was the drug damaging either your midbrain or your medulla oblongata or the structure of your brain stem. How to tell if you have an injury? Do you have the gastrointestinal issues, acid reflux, loose stool, or severe constipation? numbness, tingling in your extremities, severe mood management issues, PTSD that doesn't respond to treatment, numbness, tingling in your extremity. Oh, did I cover that one already? Body temperature regulation issues. If you have all these symptoms, you most likely have mefloquine poisoning. And if you Google brainstem injuries and follow those recommendations that you find for treatment, your symptoms will reduce.
Wow. That's amazing. Thank you there, Dave and Tim, for everything you shared right now. The other veterans are coming on in the future, Dave Wiseman, Stephen Beardwood. We're having that talk on October 2nd. Hopefully, Dave, you're going to be back on that conversation too. The night before you guys go to your rally, it's October 3rd and 4th in Ottawa. A lot of exciting things coming up. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lead us out right now. Just remind everyone that this is registered and approved by the British Armed Forces Covenant. And until we see everyone, thank you everyone for tuning in. Some reason it doesn't want to clip on me.
Well, while
I'm just going to end this. I'm going to end the stream.
While you're clicking away, I'll just talk away. No, just kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to end the stream and then basically not put any music out. I do apologize to everyone. For some reason, it does not want to work for me. So until we meet everyone again, thank you everyone for tuning in. And this Sunday, there's going to be another one. Next Friday, possibly next Sunday after that too. So just keep to the Late Night Veteran Show Facebook page. Check us out. Join us. And just keep the voice going. Thank you, all three of you. Thank you, Dave, Tim, and everyone else, you know, that's tuned in the past. Come on. It's been an amazing trip. We just got so much more to go. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. So thank you, everyone.
Okay.
I pledged allegiance to the flag God stood beside me. I swore an oath to my countrymen and kin. Side by side we sang our anthem oh so proudly. And this is where a soldier's tale begins. We left for foreign shores in the name of freedom. Comrades,